Social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at KHTS Radio.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Advanced Audiology. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS. And Dr. Dorio is currently seeing patients, and he will be here in about 10 minutes. So, this is a show for, about, and by seniors giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And speaking of quality of life, we have two lovely guests this morning. Author, public speaker, a nurse, and a co-founder of Little Sister Hemp Company. And that is Lisa DeLong and Karen White. Wow.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
ladies.
morning. Good
How
morning.
are you?
We're doing great.
Fabulous on this rainy day.
Beautiful. Great for thank you for having us.
Well, we're delighted. And what a subject.
Right?
My goodness.
Our favorite.
A hemp company. Mm-hmm. How did you go about becoming co-owner of a hemp company?
Well,
that's very interesting.
It is. It's as surprising to me as it is to people who have known me. As a nurse and mom of 4, I've had 2 sons with cancer. My oldest son, Justin, died 18 years ago at the age of 15 after relapsing from leukemia. And 6 years later, my youngest son, Jacob, was diagnosed with the same kind of leukemia. And he is now a healthy teenage boy living in Oregon, going to college. Thank you.
Yes,
Yay,
yes.
That's good news.
Yes.
So my interest in cannabis began, I didn't realize it at the time, but it really began when my oldest son was first diagnosed at the age of 5 in 1990. And in those days, it was just the very beginning of the homeopathic movement. We had looked into some things about some naturopathic practices, but it was brand new. And as a nurse, it was not mainstream.
Oh, of course not.
Right? So... but at that time when he was going through chemo, he was 5 years old and he was, nauseous, losing his hair, having physical pain, all of those things that people on chemo go through. And I really wanted something back then that would ease his nausea, comfort his body, and support his immune system, as well as reduce nausea.
And ease his pain.
And ease his pain, yeah, and support his immune system that was non-toxic. So fast forward 10 years, he was in remission, and when he relapsed at the age of 15, it was the same thing I wanted to offer him, the same things. I wanted to offer him something that would ease his suffering, and support his immune system that would be non-toxic. So, again, there were some things available, but I had no awareness of cannabis at the time. It was still illegal in our country. There was no education happening. All of the studies that were happening at that time were coming out of Israel, but that was not mainstream information. So, a few years ago, my oldest daughter, Jessica, who lives in Eugene, Oregon, moved there and announced one day that she was trimming weed up in with the weed farmers. Yeah. And that led to, of course, I sort of, shook my head and wondered, well, so much for those student loans, right? But that beautiful weed farmer taught her about the endocannabinoid system. And it is a system that we have in our body. It is the largest neuropathic system in our body. And it matches the plant perfectly. And when I started to see the science behind it, and as a nurse, I was just amazed, and I was also angry that I didn't know this information already. Had I known, I would have given it to my son and started Jacob on it as well, my younger one as well, right away. So that was my introduction.
That's amazing.
I come from a Native American background. I'm a Chippewa Indian with the tribe up in Sault Ste. Marie. My great-great-grandmother was full-bred Indian, and for the past couple years, I've kind of this plant medicine thing is becoming interesting to me. And I knew Lisa for a long time, way back when. I think we've had a 17-year hiatus. And I decided that I needed to talk to her because I'd heard she was a cannabis nurse, and I wanted to know a little bit more. So we reconnected, and here we are starting a hemp company.
What goes around comes around.
Stranger things have happened, so.
It's amazing. Well, like I was saying before, telling you my story with my first introduction to marijuana was in the form of a, what do you call it, the smoking thing?
A
A
vape?
joint.
No, a joint.
There we go.
A
Joint.
smoking thing.
Yeah,
That could be
joint.
a pipe.
Well,
it could,
yeah.
nowadays, it could be
Well, as I said, my first marriage in the late 70s, lived in Canoga Park. And neighbor across the street said, you know, we smoked then, and said, here, try this. And it was hysterical. I mean, I got into a giggling phase, and my husband then and I were running up and down the street, rolling our hands all over the place. It was hysterical. But that was my first introduction to it. But 6 years ago, I had cancer. And my doctor gave me opioid. And my son came down and he saw these pills. He said, Mother, that stuff will kill you.
Oh, wow.
He said, let me get you some CBD pills. So he went back up to Lancaster, Palmdale, brought him back down. My pain was gone in less than 2 days.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, that's
Completely
wonderful.
disappeared.
Wow.
And I've tried he's given me the cannabis cream, the CBD cream, and that really alleviates pain.
Yes, it does.
Aha!
I have something going on. It could be arthritis. I've never had it, so I'm not aware of what's happening.
I have it.
But I have so much pain here, and I just keep using my CBD. I take orally CBD, and I also use the creams on my hand, and I actually have one topical that is CBD/THC. It does not make you high, but it helps with a little bit stronger pain when you have it, you know, in a joint like this.
Yes.
So it seems to be helping me a lot. I'm
And,
good
and
today.
by joint, you don't mean a smoking joint.
No,
You
I don't
mean
mean that. I meant like the
Karen is
bones.
pointing to her fingers. Her thumb is injured. It's not, we're not smoking joints over here.
No.
We don't want to
No.
confuse the audience with this. Cannabis language can be very confusing, you know? It really can. And
No, KHTS, no, nothing like that going on here.
That's
We're
right.
talking about it. We're talking about it
We're-
on the senior hour. And it's especially good for seniors because seniors very, very often suffer from various types of pain as you get older. And I didn't say old. I
That's
said
right.
older.
Older
I
and
don't-
wiser.
I don't believe in old. I'm older.
Age is just a number.
Yes, exactly.
That's right.
I think more and more of our seniors are becoming aware of the healing properties of cannabis because like the CBD pills I took for my pain going through chemotherapy and fighting this cancer I had, the pain was gone in less than 2 days. And my son, he looked at those opioids I was taking. He said, Mother, that stuff will kill you.
Yeah,
And he got me the CBD pills.
right.
And they're incredible.
Well, you're one of the fortunate seniors to have a child teach you, your own kid that you trust, to teach you that this is actually, he's right, opioids are the number one addiction in our country.
That's right.
I got my cannabis nurse certification last year and have attended many conferences since, and I'm part of the cannabis community here in Los Angeles. And very few people, especially in the senior community, really understand how it works and why did your pain go away, and not only that, your pain went away, but the plant was also supporting your immune system at a time when it was being bombarded with
Absolutely.
chemotherapy to fight the cancer. And I'm just to be clear, I am a registered nurse. I was taught in Western medicine. I graduated from LA County USC School of Nursing long time ago in 1983. I worked as a mother-baby nurse here at Henry Mayo for 13 years, so that was my primary nursing practice. And when each time my boys got sick, I stopped working and attended to them. And when you have someone in your family who can say to you, this is safer than that opiate. This I have a better way for you. Sometimes it's a learning curve because we have trusted our physicians, we have trusted our our Western medical model. When they say, here, take this for your pain, and they hand you a Vicodin or a Tylenol and codeine or a Percocet or all of the Darvon, all of these hydrocodone, all of these different medications. It's my understanding that the physicians when those pharmaceutical drugs were first made readily available, physicians were taught that they were safe and that they were non-addictive. And so, I'm always very on the side of the Western physician because they're under immense pressure.
Oh yes,
and they have not been taught about cannabis. I have a friend who's on leukemia treatment right now. He's in his 40s, and he went to his radiologist. He was telling all of his oncology team that he was taking cannabis. He went to his radiologist preparing for radiation therapy, and he said, "I just want you to know that I'm on cannabis. I'm taking cannabidiol." And the radiologist looked at him and said, "What is that?" He had no idea. So these are brilliant minds, brilliant, devoted people who've spent thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, committed their lives to saving ours and being healers. And this information was withheld from them. It is. So I'm always on the side of, those who are in the healthcare field. So I just want to make that clear that, while I see cannabis as a adjunct therapy, it is not a negative. It is a positive. And when you're using it if you're going through chemotherapy or radiation therapy, it's a perfect thing for your body because you can use it to ease your pain and discomfort while supporting your immune system. It is a wonderful complement to many types of cancer therapies. So,
well, it certainly helped me with my pain. And it's interesting. You mentioned that you had lost a son. I lost a son also 34 years ago, and he died of AIDS from a blood transfusion. And, of course, back then they didn't know anything about blood problems and things like that. But I've often wondered, had cannabis been around then, I think he would still be alive because I think that would have been able to treat him successfully. I really do, and I'm hoping that they're experimenting more with that as far as AIDS is concerned.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about cannabis work is that it's definitely becoming at the forefront of our medical community because of the opiate crisis.
That's right.
As a nurse, I travel all across the country and I speak to healthcare professionals. Hi, can I say hi?
Yes.
You can.
Dr. Dorio just walked in.
It looks like we've got a love fest going here. Woohoo!
Great, Lisa. Welcome. I was coming in, and it was such an exciting conversation you guys were having.
Yes.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Yes.
Yay! We had a good time, a little conversing before we got on air, and I had no idea that Barbara didn't know what we were going to be talking about really. And we didn't know that you were open and had some experience of your own. And this is what we're finding, Karen and I, as co-founders of Little Sister Hemp Company. We're doing home parties, home gatherings, and also any chance we can get to educate. We're putting together a workshop involving all kinds of aspects of cannabis education. So, but whenever we get into it, whenever we meet a group, everybody has a story around cannabis. It's so interesting to hear what our first, like you were saying, your first introduction. And
quite different from the second introduction.
Yes. So it's an exciting time. It really is.
It's an exciting time, and like I said, I was excited about both of you and listening to the show. And Barbara and I are very receptive about the use of cannabis for our patients in our community. But for you, Lisa and Karen, how much resistance is there in Santa Clarita, knowing the philosophy and, because we have to change minds.
Yes.
And we change minds by proving to the public and those patients who might be suffering how beneficial cannabis can be. We all have our past history of inhaling or not inhaling, of also, seeing the commercials and being told that, say no. And that's fine. But there are advents of medicine and technology that we need to take a look at very carefully. And we haven't done that with cannabis. And for years, this has been kept on the back shelf of medicine. So I'm just very happy to hear the conversation and bring it back to the show today.
Well, it's interesting. Kim Wall, our next guest, is also a firm believer. And then she's out there already. She'll be on next after you two leave, and she is a firm believer.
Oh
in
yeah,
cannabis.
it's important information to share.
She's an alternative medicine advocate.
Nice,
But
nice.
it's important because it's therapeutic, and we really missed the boat many years ago because in Israel, in Russia, and a few other places around the world, they were doing the research that was necessary that we needed to have, but we didn't get here. So the patients here, especially those in pain management who are end-of-life care, they need relief. And and those who might be hospitalized for acute problems, they're being told, take the opioids. And then they get addicted. And then it becomes a vicious cycle of trying to get them off, if you can. And this is just a different way. We do need to do more research. But, I just love the fact that our minds are being opened to this. And doctors, the radiologists who didn't know what cannabinoids are, that's a problem. When even the medical professionals are not knowing or getting educated on all the facts surrounding the use of cannabis and how it can benefit our community.
And how it can benefit the community safely. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear. So our role for Karen and I is really to diffuse the fear around the use of cannabis and to educate people on proper use. And especially for seniors, it's important that, we've both heard story after story of an older woman or man going into a dispensary, getting brave enough, first of all, to even find a dispensary and go to one, and then have a bud tender. The bud tenders are the people that sell the products in a dispensary, and many of them are very knowledgeable. I've learned so much from many of them, but they don't always know that if you're an older person, you need a lot less amount. It's younger people can handle more higher doses of cannabis than older people, and they don't know what they're getting, and they'll walk out of Karen and I were at a conference or a cannabis training the other day, and there was a story about a woman who saw a younger woman who saw an older woman she was given a brownie at the dispensary and for sleep or whatever, and so she went and she saw the woman go back to her car knowing that this woman had no idea how much of this to take. So thankfully she followed her and knocked on the door and said, do you know how much of that to take? She said, I was going to sit here in the car and eat the whole thing.
That was a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely.
And you have to be so careful with the edibles because they affect everyone differently.
That's right.
And at one time, I had tried, somebody's like, well, try this. And they gave me like the square of a Hershey chocolate. It's not very big. And I thought, I'll take this. 2 hours went by and nothing. And then it was like I was hit with a horse tranquilizer. I sat on the couch and I'm like trying to keep my eyes open. And that whole brownie probably would have put her in a coma for a while, I think, and they don't know.
Well, thankfully it can't put you in a real coma, but it would have been a pretty uncomfortable
sleep
ride.
Yeah.
But, if someone were to say to you, well, I'm giving you 100 milligrams of morphine, and you go, oh, that's fine, you wouldn't because you know that that's a problem. Our problems right now is trying to quantitate how much one should get and knowing the milligrams. So recently, the American Academy of Physicians, which I belong, they have some articles on cannabis and how to augment it in a way that I already do with my patients by taking a dose and slowly increasing it to assure the effect that you want, but minimizing the side effects. It's the same thing that we have to do with cannabis. We have to be able to titrate it so that the side effects are less. And it's hard to see in some of the, I have patients who are pain management patients, and they get their cannabis, and it says a certain number of milligrams. But, sometimes it says, it's like 0.36723, like a pi number that's just forever and ever. And you go, okay, how am I going to remember that versus, 1 milligram or 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams? And so we have to quantitate this in the future.
Right, and that is happening actually because of the new laws, and that's been a wonderful thing about regulations, and it's mainstreaming. And so it's allowing people to understand what's called microdosing. So microdosing is where you start at the smallest amount of cannabis in whatever form you're taking, and then see how it feels. And then you can always add more, see how it feels, whether you're vaping or smoking or using a tincture under your tongue or consuming an edible. It's always best to microdose and just get to know not only how you are affected by it, but also what are you taking. There's a plethora of different kinds of products and different kinds of plants, each with their own chemical variety. And what people are calling strains are actually a different chemical variety. So the new language in the cannabis world is chemovars. So the different kinds of plants, like you hear funky names like,
blue cheese, purple haze. It's like, what is that?
What
Sounds
are
like
these
a song
things?
to me.
But they're all a description of a different kind of plant. And that chemical variety is also what makes it a specifically good fit for one person's ailment, and maybe there's another better plant for another based on their terpene profile, which is what gives them their flavor.
Well, I use that, what is it, the drops. Can't think of the name of it. I use them every day.
So it's a CBD drop.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to you,
How
Sharon
does
Lisa.
our-
But how do we get hold of you?
You can find us right now on Facebook under the Little Sister Hemp Company.
Little
It's
Sister
a new
Hemp
little
Company.
page, so feel free to. We post articles and kind of like our adventure in starting this,
Cool.
and just to try to eliminate fear.
But our seniors might not have Facebook, so is there a phone number yet that we can get a hold of you?
I could give you my email address. Would that
Email
work?
That'll work.
Okay, Lisa, Lisa, Solis, Solis, DeLong, DELONG, at gmail.com. And we will have all of this in place soon. It's all in the works.
Cool.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Very
to have
exciting.
this in the
Excited.
I'm so
community,
happy
guys.
that you're both
Yes.
so open and into it. Yay! We're all waking up. Yay!
Well, we're spreading the word.
That's right.
And
That's right.
the more we talk about it, the more people will be, maybe I need to look into this.
and it's not to be feared.
no,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
But also
not.
important to educate yourself.
That's
Yes.
the main thing.
And that's what we're here for. So reach out.
Terrific. Well,
Yeah.
I hope you'll come back again.
We'd love to come back.
Oh,
We have
yes.
so much more to
Well,
talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for
Thank you.
joining us.
Thank you.
I have to take a break now. Evil Eye over there, see?
Oh, he's so cute. He's not evil.
I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
Healthcare can be difficult if you're underinsured or have Medi-Cal. Samuel Dixon Family Health Center can help. Services are available on a sliding fee schedule. The mission of the Samuel Dixon Family Health Center is to give the Santa Clarita Valley access to affordable, quality primary care. There are 3 locations to serve you: Canyon Country, Newhall, and Valverde. Go to sdfhc.org for more information and to find the location most convenient for you. Discover the memory care your loved one deserves at Oakmont of Valencia, Oakmont's brand new luxury senior living community in Santa Clarita. Oakmont's innovative memory care program features stimulating and engaging activities in a soothing environment, as well as compassionate professional care delivered in the privacy of residents' apartment homes. With 2 gorgeous outdoor courtyards as well as an on-site movie theater, residents will enjoy a life full of vitality, dignity, and purpose. For more information, visit oakmontofvalencia.com.
Mission Valley Bank is a commercial bank in the Santa Clarita Valley that really puts the community into community banking.
At Mission Valley Bank, we strive to be a trusted advisor to our clients, and that means being an integral part of the communities we serve. We started the Give Where You Live program to help bring awareness to our nonprofit partners. We're more than just a local business bank. In fact, we're a full-service, independent commercial bank that is locally owned, community-minded, and relationship-driven. I'm Tamara Gurney, President and CEO of Mission Valley Bank, and I invite you to experience the Mission Valley Bank difference, where your success is our mission. We want to be your most valued bank.
Mission Valley Bank has been named Most Trusted Advisor Business Banker by the San Fernando Valley Business Journal 5 years in a row and received the Business Leadership Award by the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce, Valley Industry Association, and SCV Economic Development Corporation. Visit them at their Center Point branch location or at missionvalleybank.com. Member FDIC.
Comfort Keepers provides your loved one with loving in-home care.
Miles McNamara, certified senior advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in-home care.
Our caregivers can help you in your own home, enhancing independence, creating safety and comfort. Our Comfort Keepers provide companionship, meal preparation, medication reminders, assistance with personal care, and even transportation to doctor's appointments. If someone you love can use a helping hand at home, visit comfortkeepers.com.
Or call 287-4200.
This is a Rita's Daybreak. There's a huge crowd at Rita's. With so many amazing flavors, every day's a treat. Let's see what folks are celebrating.
I lost my first tooth.
No more training wheels.
My dog photo got 37 likes.
3 kids, 3 activities, 0 meltdowns. There you have it. Layer it, blend it, or drink it with Italian ice and creamy custard. So many reasons to celebrate at Rita's. This has been a Rita's Daybreak.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Hey there, it's Tori with your hometown station weather. Rain most of the day today, tomorrow, and on Friday, with highs in the 50s, overnight lows in the 40s. For anything and everything Santa Clarita Valley related, go to hometownstation.com or find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at KHTS Radio.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Jean Dorio.
There we are, on your hometown station, KHTS. And our guest now is Kim Wall, an alternative medicine advocate.
And cannabis advocate.
Yes.
Woo!
This has been will have been an incredible hour.
I think it's awesome. You know, it's really cute to hear them talk about what they're doing. I'm going to tell you, about 15 years ago, I told somebody that somebody needs to do a Tupperware party and have this be the host.
There it is.
And educate people on what can be done, because that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to the fact of what kind of quality of life we want and where we just hope we have the choice to choose it. That was it, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it was very interesting. I was sitting out there telling everybody in the hall to be quiet so I could listen to the show. And I was yelling outside, "It's Charlotte's Web brand, Barbara. That's our favorite." And she was like, "I can't remember what it is."
Do you think, though, and I brought this up on the show, though, Kim, do you think, though, that Santa Clarita is ready?
Yes, because you know what? We got a heroin problem in this valley, don't we?
We
have an opiate problem in this valley. We have
sure
both
do.
in this valley. You look at it from the school level to the senior center. We've got a drug problem. So we can either choose to say, you know what? I choose opiates. That's what I choose. Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
I choose CBD. Good for me. But we should have that choice and not have stigmatism up on it.
Absolutely.
And you know, the more, because I've been going to school now, I've got myself in a program and I'm learning things about cannabis that is so mind blowing. Like, did you know that the very first patent drug in the United States, which was aspirin, has the exact same profile as cannabis does in affecting the CBD receptors 1 and 2 for pain, and why aspirin was patented, because we know we could synthesize it and make it a substance, but why the pharmaceutical industry wanted to put research into that more than hemp was, because we know hemp would cure as well, because aspirin's water soluble. It could be intravenous. Hemp can't be. So it's crazy when we even look at those little forks in the road and why it happened and who manipulated that fork. Do you know how much of cannabis prohibition is based in racism? Right? I mean, the more I learn about this and the money and the racism and why and what, it's so sad how, especially California, because, a lot of stuff, unfortunately, and good and bad, works and starts in California. But when they did it in the beginning, their purpose was to go after immigrants. And it's so crazy how, if we don't know history, if we don't know why this happened, we can't correct it. And we can't make it right in this case, in my passion, in the medical industry where we need it. I came in here today because I had a really great article from this really cool doctor who's still an old-fashioned doctor, goes around and does house calls, Mr. D next to me. And it was a thing on hospice care. And what was really crazy in there, besides the fact this whole great email that I got story on it, this lady was sent into hospice, which... Understand this, just like the medical industry, it's an industry. It has to make money. And unfortunately, they drive that on patients. Do you know that 44.6% of people die in hospice care under the control of a system? About 1.65 million people a year are put into hospice. That's an industry. Now, what made this story that Dr. D talked about was this lady was sent to hospice, and she had to have a medical diagnosis for being terminally ill. And come to find out, she didn't even have cancer. And that, to me, because when you set the mindset in somebody's mind, hey, you're going to die in 6 months, what's that person going to do? And now on top of it, let's give you some drugs that are going to mess with it. I mean, it's heartbreaking. But what was interesting was listening to the girls talk in here, because I know the beauty of what, and we need to understand when she was talking about it, it's a plant. Cannabis sativa is a strain. Cannabis indica is a strain. They come with different terpenes in them that cause different effects. And what we need to understand is we're just learning about the cannabinoid system. We're just learning how these terpenes can affect us. But this is what's crazy to me is I've been, like I said, doing all these different research, and this is a sheet of terpenes and what each one does. And what's so crazy about this is these terpenes, everybody's all about cannabis right now because I'm going to give you a little insider scoop because I've been in the healthcare industry, the natural industry, for almost 25 years. Ooh. They don't always tell you the truth. So CBDs is the big hype right now because CBDs are concentrated in the hemp product in high concentrations. But these same CBD terpenes are found in things like we discussed earlier, lemon oil, orange oil, clove, rosemary, hops, bay leaves, tea tree oil, wormwood, sage. So
we're already using it.
Well, imagine putting those things in, and where this science is starting to fall together and make sense. And that's what it's about. If 1 + 1 = 2, then we want to follow that equation. So what we're seeing is, a lot of people talk about essential oils. Well, what's an essential oil? It's a terpene. You're using these same chemicals to affect the body. Well, what's interesting is one of these ones, and I tried, this is such a big word for me, but it's carpolinium, which is a terpene. And what's interesting is this one is it's neuroprotective. It's also antidepressant. It's also anti-tumor growth. Now, as she was talking earlier about hemp, where we want the science to go with this is we want to understand what these terpenes do. Because as we look down this list, we take another one like the lemonade, which is more of a lemon and orange terpene, but it's also found in certain cannabis strains that would have that smell, okay? They smell kind of orangey or lemony. But this one here is different. This one's antimicrobial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory. This one dissolves cholesterol. What? Wait a minute. Let's back that train up. We can dissolve bad cholesterol. We can affect the body with terpenes. We know why this isn't out on the market because we're going to change the pharmaceutical input on our lives. But again, this one's even been used for treating gallstones. So again, if we step back into old medical, the old what grandma made in the cupboard stuff, the witch doctor brews, people use lemon water to treat gallstones. Well, now we know why, because those terpenes can actually dissolve gallstones. What? So this is where we want to make that knowledge known. We want to get into a senior center. We want to be in the schools, because if we can bring something in, and listening to the girls talk too, again, I ate a chocolate square. Well, what was that chocolate square? Was it a CBD? Was it a THC? Because again, if we were treating cancer, we would really want to have some THC involved in our dosage.
Absolutely.
Because
The
that's what's
combination.
because that's what's going to get the cancer cells. The CBD part, again, understanding the mechanics. Back in the day, when we got that tablespoon of cod liver oil, and we didn't have genetically modified foods that have blown our guts out and have leaky gut garbage and yeast overgrowth, you ate that tablespoon of cod liver oil or whatever you're eating that way as a fatty acid. It went into your intestinal tract, and your intestinal tract brought that into the receptors and turned it in and made it a CBD for your body. That's why the receptors are there. Your body can make it with the right precursor. So if we were doing things like, fresh rosemary in our food, those terpenes are in our food. If we're doing basil, we're eating those things on a daily basis. So like the girls were saying, well, you got to be careful in dosing seniors and this and that. Again, we always start with the lowest, but how cool would it be if we started here with things like lemon water or essential oils and things that way to bring those terpenes in. I'm a huge advocate of daily hemp. It comes in hemp seeds. You can get it. You can make your own hemp milk. You can make hemp flour. You can do hemp oils. I mean, it comes in a variety of different ways. But what we need to understand is when we treat that hemp product, it changes its profile and how it works. When we decarb it, which means we heat that substance up and then process it, we get a whole different profile in the body because then it can pass through the blood-brain barrier. But when we're taking raw hemp and making it into a raw oil, almost like an olive oil press would kind of be in the thought process, that's going to work differently in the body. So again, we want to have that doctor on board or that educator on board so we start charting these things. Because I was telling my future son-in-law at my house earlier before I came here, think how amazing it would be, because we know why this hasn't happened, because we can't patent a plant. But think how amazing it would be if you could take with the science where we cross-pollinate plants, and you could create a rosemary plant, because we know that the rosemary, again, it's neuroprotective. So if we could take that rosemary and that cannabis and blend 3 or 4 different terpenes here and make an oil that would actually be a brain oil that you could put in on your toast in the morning, or you could put under your tongue, or if somebody was incapacitated, possibly rub on the bottom of their feet. Think how this could change that. And that's why I get so excited about it, because it's that simple. It's great to hear people talk about where we can come with it, but we don't have to be afraid of it. We don't have to be afraid, because interesting enough, the reason why a whole plant is the right way to go is because those terpenes and those CBDs and THC and CBDAs and all the different things in there balance each other out. So if you actually go into the hospital and you've eaten too much of an edible that's high in THC, okay, because that's the psychoactive. If you took a high CBD, it'd probably put you to sleep, but a high THC edible is going to affect your mind psychoactive wise. So what happens a lot of times is people, they panic, they freak out, they think they're dying. I've heard a couple different stories, but interesting enough how that's counter treated in the hospital. If you, or not, I don't know that way, but if you were to give them just straight CBD, it would calm them down. It would balance them out. Because again, that's why those things are in those plants that way. And yes, the sativa plant is higher in that CBD, and that's why you see those strains more for those things, but again, there's so many other terpenes in there that we really want to, focus on that. And again, get to that grassroots, be able to get into a senior center, because I know there's people out there that work in these places. It's time to just wake up. You have no problem sticking a pill in a cup that's got a black label on it from our government that means it can kill you in one pill. That's okay to stick in a cup, but you can't stick the same little pill that's got, 10 milligrams of CBD oil in it to see, because if we got antispasmodics, that can help with bladder issues. If we have the neuroprotective, if we have this one here, eucypanol, which is found, interesting, I'm sure it's in like eucalyptus, is probably a big component of getting it, but it's also, again, in bay leaves and tea tree and wormwood and sage. But that one specifically is an anti-mucus. So think of people, and it also helps to inhibit your cytotoxic production with your immune system. It's an anti-leukemic. It blows my mind to think if we really could get the two houses together, what we could create, because it could truly be a medicine that would be well for the whole body without damaging or sacrificing your kidney, your liver function, or as the literature's starting to show, all these drug-induced dementia people.
maybe from medication that
from
they've been given.
medications. I mean, it's a side effect on so many medications. I even saw it with my grandmother, an episode of truly out-of-body experience with her from an antibiotic at 98. Well, she's an O. It was a mold-based antibiotic. And she's an O, and mold is a neurotoxin, and it threw her over the edge. We got her back, but the key is we don't know those little things. So if we can bring in something as simple as this, and the Charlotte's Web, the thing is the federal law farm bill passed. CBD products are legal in all 50 states. All 50 states now are working on programs to grow it themselves, because that's the big difference. Is a lot of the CBD products that have been in the United States of America come from other countries.
Now, the new CBD product is a Schedule 5.
Yes, it is.
And the only problem that I have with my patients is in converting them from the opioids and other pain medications to a cannabis-based medication. Well, not just that, but, and there's a conversion, an overlap, which is pretty easy to do. It takes maybe a year, but you do it. But here they are now reliant on their daily dosing of the cannabis, but then they end up being admitted to the hospital where they're not allowed to take cannabis because it's a Schedule 1 on federal level.
But that's because, again, that's where education comes in, because truly what they're taking isn't...
It actually is legislative, because we've got to change the law that takes cannabis out of the category of Schedule 1.
Yes, and actually there's paperwork right now that's been submitted that is for that. So that is in the action.
How hard is that going to be with all the lobbyists in Washington,
but you know what?
D.C.?
I'm going to tell you
how
why.
are we going to do that?
It's going to happen. You know why it's going to happen?
It has to
because
happen.
Big Pharma's on board. So it's going to happen. Yeah. The key is we need to hold them. You're damn right they do.
They have their tentacles in making the money.
Yes, and the key is now we still, as the people who own the dollar bill, we need to hold them accountable. And that's where it needs to happen, because Big Pharma's lied to us for so long. And if you look at some of the stuff out there, these families push this opioid addiction into our society, and nobody looked. Everybody, turned a cheek when it was happening, because there was so many people making money off of it. And like I said, all these stories might be no big deal until it's your family member that dies, or it's your family member that's suffering, or it's your family member that's lost everything because somebody said, "Oh, you had a C-section? Here's some pain pills."
That's right. Exactly.
Oh, you got this, here's an antidepressant. Oh, you can't sleep, here's a sleeping pill. Now you've got this person who's on 4 or 5 different pharmaceuticals who doesn't even know what end is up. And what's crazy is one pill can eliminate all of those. And we don't have to be afraid of the side effect. There's not a side effect. No one's ever died from a cannabinoid. Can we say that about anything else? We really can't.
No.
So the fact that there's so many receptors in our body shows you it's part of our makeup. Yes, opioids respond and bind to certain receptors. They sure do. But we have nothing in our body that is going to make that. That's something that's coming in that's been manufactured as a synthetic into the system.
And we need to take a break. I'll be back in a minute. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, KHTS.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
Hey, all you savvy style seekers, extraordinary deals on designer brands await you at the outlets at Tejon. Find the latest fashion and accessories at Michael Kors, H&M, Levi's Outlet Store, Coach, and Calvin Klein. Shop for the whole family at Gap Outlet, American Eagle Outfitters, Oshkosh B'gosh, and Nike Factory Store. Even style your home with Pottery Barn Outlet and Le Creuset. All at amazing everyday value you won't find anywhere else. Join our VIP club today to receive your free coupon brochure filled with hundreds of dollars in additional savings. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or visit TejonOutlets.com for the latest sales and events. Your must-shop stop is located just 40 minutes north on I-5.
3 days of shopping, 3 days of saving. Shop the Outlets at Home President's Day Super Sale. Saturday through Monday for extra savings on your favorite brands like H&M, Nike, Kate Spade, Gap Outlet, Express Factory Store, and more. TejonOutlets.com.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
The Art Gallery of Santa Clarita Artists Association, located in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Railroad and Main, features local members' original artwork with changing exhibits every 2 months. Purchase affordable art for your home or as gifts. Open Friday through Sunday or by appointment. Artists wishing to join the SCAA can visit santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming shows, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Aloha, friends! Go check out Honu Coffee, home of the best cold brew coffee. What makes their coffee special is how their organic coffee beans are infused with nitrogen to create a smooth and delicious cup of coffee. You'll also find traditional bold coffees and island-inspired signature drinks. They're the perfect place to catch up with friends or just relax with your favorite cup of joe. Honu Coffee on Lyons and Walnut in Newhall. Stop by and say aloha.
And now for your convenience, a second Honu location at 23502 Lyons Avenue between Peachland and Apple.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Dr. Gene Dorio with my co-host Barbara Cochran on your hometown station KHTS. We're having a very exciting conversation here today throughout this whole hour about cannabinoids and cannabis and terpenes and other viable treatments that should be out there, but it's kind of like trying to raise an idea, opinion, and it needs to take root first, and we're starting to do that, but it's just so slow because the implications for our older adults is tremendous.
Oh my gosh, what it could do for, come on, our government owns a patent on it for neuroprotection and neurorestorative, for strokes, for brain trauma, for dementia. They hold a patent on it. So there's got to be some information behind that patent. So why isn't that something that's been implemented into our system? And like you said, Dee, until I can manufacture it and own it and make the money off of it and win the game, it's not going to happen. But guess what, people? The laws are changing. There are people in Washington that see this. There are people in Washington that are fighting for us, that are saying, who's holding these companies accountable? Who's looking at the drug companies making these vaccines and not saying, hey, this is right. How do you do this? Where's the report for the last 30 years that we're supposed to have an annual report telling us what the state of vaccines are in our country? We haven't had one in 30 years. Accountability. That's all we need is some accountability. But when we look at something like this, it's new science. The cannabinoid system, it's new science. But what to me makes my brain just go crazy is it makes sense now why these other things worked. Why is it when you did this and you got good vitamin D and good fats in your body and stuff, you were healthy? You didn't have arthritis, anti-inflammatory. You didn't have brain disease. You didn't have dementia the way we do because it's neuroprotective. You didn't have because it's a pain reliever. You didn't have the anxiety and stress and mental disorders in our country, which, again, let's put a price tag on that one. What do you think the mental health price tag is? But here's something that was keeping us as a society balanced. And then in the 70s, they took it away 100% completely from us. And there were places, in our history, the 1937 marijuana tax, definitely, like I said. But what got me when I do this research is how much lies was behind it. The guy who was in charge, he flat out lied and said, if you smoke this, you're going to die. And if you don't die, you're going to go murder people. And some of the propaganda out there, again, that's what we have to realize. Propaganda existed back then when all we had was newspapers. But there still was propaganda. So again, you just got to make sure that don't be afraid to stand up for yourself, first off. That's been my thing. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm claiming it. I've been a cannabis user for a good portion of my life. Yes, I was involved in that whole, like you said, in the beginning of what we did. But, when I decided to become a mom, I put it aside and I became a mom and did my thing. And then years later, I came back to it because I had a child that was epileptic and I knew what it could do. But what's sad to me is when I read the literature on cannabis and pregnancy, Wow, that's an article you should read because it lowers all side effects in the pregnancy, morning sickness, everything else. The children were smarter, healthier, better body weight. The mother was happier. It was a whole beautiful outcome. But guess what? Nixon said, nah, that's not the answer I wanted from the report, so we're going to put that over here. And we're not going to look at that and we're going to shred that because that doesn't fit my agenda. So we need to get out of the agenda game and we need to get into the truth game. And it's moms like those two moms that were in here that's going to be one little story at a time. And that's why I'm such a huge advocate and why I'm going to stand up and say now there is no stigmatism to it. You know, you can be addicted to anything. You can be addicted to porn, you can be addicted to food, you can be addicted to TV, anything.
But
it's how it controls your life.
It's interesting. I didn't get addicted to the CBD pills for my pain.
No. And what happened? Your pain got better and you needed...
Pain disappeared.
Exactly. Same thing with me, Barb. I got a whole new understanding of CBD when I hurt my back, but I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for the CBDs, I don't know if I'd have my quality of life back. I'm sure I'd be an opiate head because I couldn't have lived in the pain I was in. It destroyed every aspect of my life. And when I went to my dispensary and said, hey, listen, guys, you know, the girl says to me behind the counter, and that's why we need educated people everywhere, even in dispensaries. She says, this here will help. Try this. This is how you take it. Take this, this, and this. And I did exactly what she said. Again, cannabis user, I'm not afraid to take it. No, but I used it as a medicine.
That's
as a medicine.
As a
Not
medicine.
I'm going to sit down at the end of the day, have a joint, put my feet up, and smile. That wasn't it.
No,
it was medicine.
it's
And you know what? It
medicine.
changed my attitude on everything.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's interesting. My son has a dispensary. He employs 25 young people who are so knowledgeable.
That's what
I
we
mean,
need.
he teaches them because he knows this stuff inside and out. And
that's what we want to share those people and that knowledge.
That's exactly right.
That ripple effect, because
And
then they're going to go out.
They are able to help those customers when they come in and explain, well, this is what this does.
Sure, because
This
you
is
want
what
one high in this
does.
terpene because it's going to help with your mucus or your pain.
That's right.
So if people
We
want to
go
get
another
in touch,
hour.
if people want to get in touch with you, Kim, how do they do that?
Bodymechanics@yahoo.com.
Very
And I'm
good.
also on Facebook at Body Mechanics as well. That's where I put my info
Good
out.
job, Kim.
Good
Just a
heavens,
great show
this
today. We are
hour
sponsored by
went-
Comfort Keepers In-Home Care and Advanced Audiology. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.
Highest quality services at prices that everyone can afford. This is Rosemary from Beyond Harmony Med Spa. Read our reviews and know why we won the